So welcome to another Chatty Bench. We finally managed to get back to the bench with no one around on a most beautiful day coming towards the end of August. And we're here to talk to James McGrath. James is a man who's going to tell us all about himself. There's no point in me giving his life story because I don't know it. But I know that he's very much involved in well-being and the promotion of well-being in a number of ways. Tell us your story first, your Lurgan connection, James.
First off, thanks for having us on. And I live out just out the road in a place called Galdy's Gate, just down the road there. And Lurgan, I went to school in Lurgan as well. Many fond memories of Lurgan Park back in the day where we used to actually study or learn for the exams. We used to come here and yeah, Lurgan's a beautiful place. I love Lurgan. I love the fact that you actually call your page Love Lurgan. I've moved away from Lurgan now. I have a girlfriend there, a fiance. We're getting married this year, so I'm down in Monaghan. But I've fond memories of Lurgan, and there's good people in Lurgan.
Monaghan's loss, gain is Lurgan's loss, as
Yeah.
it were. But you're still able to come backwards and forwards.
Yes.
I see that you
Yeah.
do. So schooling, was that important to you? Was well-being important at that stage?
Yes, school was a big part of my life, and it actually led me to setting up a lot of the stuff I'm actually doing. There was good times in school, like everybody has, and I also had some troubling times in school as well. And I went through some trialing periods in school. I got into the field of emotional well-being later on after school. I got to a point in my life where I was a bit challenged in life, and I didn't want to live anymore. So that was a big thing for me. I got to the age of 22 where basically I wanted to die.
Was it to the level? We're very invasive here in this programme, as you know. Was it to the point that you were going to take your own life?
Yeah, it got to that extreme. I didn't see any way out, and the only way out was to end my life. I was actually up in a place called Rogie in Bundoran. I was on a family holiday, and I just looked down into the water and I says, might as well just jump here, because there was so much going on in my mind and something going on in different parts of my life. So in that moment, it was either to live or to die, and it was just a fleeting thought, fleeting moment. Everything just came through my mind of who I'd believe in, what I'd believe in, why am I doing this, why am I even thinking like this, and I basically found my heartbeat, and it was almost like a wake-up call. It was like, you've actually got a life to live. And that was 10 years ago now, because I'm 32, and ever since then a lot of things have fell into place, and continually it's continuously fallen into place for me.
What was the response or activity around that time? And I'm not looking to know what happened before, but once you either declared that, or how did you move forward?
So once, I think declaring it in itself made a huge shift, because I was looking around then later on that night, and I seen my mum, my dad, and my brother and my sister, and I was like, why was I even thinking that? And there was loads of other things outside of me that was going on, and that I was part of as well. Relationships, challenges, people dying as well, my granny who I was close to. So there's loads of things in life that do happen to us, and
lots of trauma or potential
trauma.
Trauma.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the school system's brilliant. We learn a lot, but sometimes we don't learn how to actually express or how to feel things and how to go through things. I think after school you realise, and during school too, because things can happen during school as well, but I think life is a continuous journey. It's a lesson. We're learning all the time. So to answer your question, in that moment, it was just like a shift in vibration and energy, and I looked at all the things that I did have rather than focus on all the things that were going wrong. So it was a shift in perspective, perception.
And how was, as much as you can tell, how were you being perceived from the outside? Did you notice a change in that side?
That's a good question. From the outside, from other people, people would see me as a very happy person. And I, to be honest, I was happy. There was just underlying things that I had to deal with. Sometimes we as human beings, we can wear a mask, which is a persona, and that in itself can be damaging. Whereas for me, and what I teach and what we teach now is to be your true authentic self, to be you, to be real, and sometimes you can't do that in certain situations, I know that, but to be an expression of your own truth. One of my mentors and now a friend of mine, he's actually on my wedding party, he's one of my groomsmen. He taught me the opposite of depression is expression, and that really clicked with me when I heard that, resonated with me. You know, we all have different ways of expression. You know, some people have, I love dancing, I love jiving, I love talking, I love going to parks, I love being in nature, but that might not be the same for someone else. Someone else might love rugby or cricket, like we were talking about earlier, or football or podcasts. So there's all these different types of expression, and I think now in this generation is like finding what you want and go with that, and then express that to the world.
Having been in depression myself, that's something I talk about during the podcast, as it were.
Yes.
3 or 4 years of that, I felt separation. I felt separation from expression, if you like. You've just given me the words to define something that I would have defined differently.
Yes.
I saw it as separation from community. I'm now back in community, but that is what it is. It's about expression.
Yeah.
It's about getting out there.
Yeah.
You mentioned about school. I mean, I know that education is there, but some people will say that's not education's job. That should be your parents.
Yes.
That should be your society. But it could be your education, couldn't it?
Well, the word education actually comes from the word iduko, which means to draw out from within. So it doesn't matter if a kid is in its infant stage or right up until, you know, there's a song, if you live to be 100, you'll die young. You know, no matter what age you are in life, I'm a great believer in, you know, to draw out that expression, and that expression could be to learn guitar, it could be to, you know, go and ask someone out on a date, it could be to go to the cinema with a friend, it could be any type of expression. So for me and what I'm all about and what I teach is find that thing that you want to express and then go forward with that.
So you've moved from the level of understanding it yourself
Yes.
to going to the level of offering it to others. How easy was that as a shift?
Do you know what? There's so many things that have happened, and when you were asking me questions there, my life sort of came full circle, because I did have challenges in school. I love school, but now I'm actually one of the directors of a school programme called the Super U, and we go in to empower children. We teach them the science of achievement, what it takes to win at the chosen field of what they want. We also teach them emotional mastery, the ability to master emotions. And then we also teach them the art of fulfillment, true art of fulfillment, what, you know, to feel really fulfilled, because sometimes the materialistic things, the things outside of ourselves, there's a dissatisfaction. You know, the mobile, like people, you know, use a mobile phone sometimes for satisfaction, but that can be replaced. We can't. To answer your question, I had to go through a lot of training. I had to go through a lot of life training as well, life experiences. One recently, last year my mum died, which was a huge big thing. She was 60, so I learned
Very young.
very young, yeah. And you know, she went through a lot of challenges and pain in her life, but those challenges and pain and our challenges and pain with that, there was beautiful lessons that I wouldn't have learnt anywhere else. So it was all meant to be, and I'm a great believer in that everything's for us. You know, sometimes we play something, oh, this happened to me. I changed that state and that language because I was trained this way, is to see the other ways in which, well, I got a lot of grace from it. You know, I learned a lot of things from it. Mum brought us together with more people than before. Loads of people I hadn't seen in years came and supported us, and I'm a great believer that everything will finally come to the idea where you come, well, this actually happened for me.
So you had the trauma of your mother. What did that bring to you? What knowledge? What services it brought to you, as it were?
Well, I knew Mum was passing for about 6 or 7 months before she passed, so we were graced with that because she was really ill. It brought us a lot of healing, because there was a lot of stuff in families. There's always stuff going on in families, and I seen through her passing and towards her death, there was a lot of people being brought back together, and it was always like Mum was intertwining everything back together, and there was a lot of things that was being healed. I know that's a very deep conversation to have, but now I've had many signs. I know sometimes people, oh, what are you talking? I've had many signs of my mother, you know, feathers, different things going on. I was actually doing a bit of planting this year, and I was being challenged, you know, the mind was being challenged. I was like, why did that really happen to Mum, and did she really have to go through that suffering? And I looked at the back of the packet of the seeds I was planting, and there were radish seeds, and on the back it said her name, Lucia. That was her name. And I was almost like, is this real? Do you know? Now, the thing is, and if people are watching this, I would always say this to people, nothing means anything but the meaning that you decide to give it. So there are people who might be, oh sure, but it was the meaning and the feeling in that moment for me, where someone might say, actually, it was just a packet of radishes and it's named Lucia. But in that moment, it was like almost like a communication with me and Mum to know, right, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm planting here, I'm planting my own vegetables, she's looking after me, she's still with me. You know, so I would really highlight that to people. You know, what is your meaning that you're giving to things, to life? You know,
I think that's a hard one for people to figure out, because we have a language that's common among all of us, and yet every one of us has a different meaning to a different word. The classic one is describe an elephant, and you get 4, 5 or 6 different descriptions of that. People see different aspects of that.
Correct.
And if you tie that in with emotion, it's exactly the same emotionally. You're tying in different emotions when you're talking.
Yes.
And sometimes, to me, my own experience was realisation of that in my own mental health circumstances thereafter. Why does that word fire me in a different way than it does other people? It tells me more about me than it does about the word. So it's a realisation that it's very... we use common language, but sometimes we have to figure out that some of the language we're using has a bigger effect on us and or everyone else.
You've highlighted something really important there, because it's all to do with reference points. And reference points meaning, like, you know, we all have different reference points throughout our life. Like an elephant, someone could be scared of an elephant because they went to the zoo or the circus years ago, but then someone could see an elephant and it could have been a cartoon and they're happy with the elephant. So for me, it's about the reference points, the emotionalizations of the reference point in that time. It could have been from pain or pleasure. So spiders, people have, you know, they're not bothered by spiders, but some people may, because in the moment when the spider was first in the cut, the mother went, ah! So she associated, you know, frustration, worry and panic to the spider. So then the baby then has that condition that is our associations with reference points to that thing. So I'm a great believer in that question our reference points. My reference points around death, you know, was dark, dull, you know, sadness, grief, and there is that, absolutely. But it was also a celebration of Mum's life. Loads of people came, and we witnessed so much things and people talking stories I had never heard. So rather than focusing on, because we get what we focus on, you know, what we focus on we feel, and what we feel we grow. So for us, it's like, for me, it's like, well, let's focus on what am I in control of? Well, I'm in control of the very fact that Mum gave birth to me along with my father, and that's what I'm in control of. And now I'm able to move forward. And to be honest with you, it's not a quick fix. You have to condition this, you have to train it. Yeah, your language, as you said, very powerful. But your energy, and you know, everything is energy after all, everything.
Can you bring someone to a better state of mental health by all the work that you do? I mean, that's a
great question.
That's a question that you want. I don't want to go to this guy because he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
How do you know what you're doing?
The person has to be open. Everybody has to be open to, like, I teach dancing as well outside of the work I do, right? And if the person comes or doesn't come, if the person has to come with an open mind to be able to be helped, and that's across the field. Like if you want to learn snooker, if you want to be the best footballer, you have to listen to people who have done it before. So I've done things before. I'm also learning things as well. We're always learning. You know, I'm not a perfect Peter. You know what I mean? And this idea of perfection sometimes can trip people up. I'm always learning, and the great master is always the student, you know, and that's really important to remember. But yes, we've helped people through many different things in life, challenges within business, because a lot of it times, sometimes it's their emotionalisation of things is beyond actually their control, as I said, because maybe someone said something to them. Now they're in control of what to move forward, but they have to be open and willing first initially. Otherwise it's just like the fly against the window, you know what I mean, or hitting the brick wall. So first off, the person has to be open and willing to wanting to be helped, and then to move forward. Quite often
I'll grasp at a word here and say attitude.
Yeah, attitude's a big thing. Tune and attitude is huge. That, like, I have to look at my own tune and attitude. Like, I'm always learning. There's challenges I'm going through recently too, and I have to be, as a mentor, I have to be open to be helped as well. So I think it's letting go of, you know, the word ego goes around, but letting go of this idea, as you said, letting go of the tune and attitude that, you know, I have to do it all myself. And I think that's a thing that's embedded through time. because we come from there was challenges in this island, and people go, right, no, I have to be a man, I have to be strong, or the woman now Stu has to feel that too, she has to get out there, but it's letting her guard down and being open to flourish.
Let me take you back on just a mini sentence that you said there. With things in the past, basically, is what you're saying. This country, this part of the country, Northern Ireland, north of Ireland, whatever you call it, has had the troubles up until effectively 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But the ramifications of that surely is still within all of us, whether we realise it or not.
Yeah, it's actually I love that you're bringing this up, because we're actually sitting on a very profound bench, because part of what we do, I work with a guy called Stevie J, and he set up the Yellow Hand of Friendship, and he ran around the whole of Ireland reaching out the Yellow Hand of Friendship across all places. And there's a picture of him with Martin O'Neill and Arlene Foster standing at a buddy bench. It was a buddy bench for autism. And I think things have happened. Things have always happened. Like if we go right back, people were prosecuted many moons ago, and you're always going to be prosecuted, and there's going to be things that are going to happen. But I remember watching something years ago, and the woman said there's only one race, and that's the human race. Right? Now that could be controversial too, because sometimes people are so tied up into, as we said earlier, we're talking about labels. I think, and I always have to do this too, and watch out for this, I think getting away from labels. Like, oh, you're wearing glasses, oh, you're wearing this type of shirt, oh, you're from this side of the town, or you're from that side of the town, or oh, you watch that. There's people who actually don't talk to Liverpool fans because they're Man United fans. Do you know what I mean?
And we're into the identity
yes.
kind of stuff. We attach identity to all these symbols.
Yes.
And
it's a human nature. We all do it, right? But we have to watch out for that, because ultimately, if we bring it back to my mum, our bodies go into the dirt, and we go to the ground, or you be cremated, or you might go off into wherever. But the thing is, our spirits rise, and it's about raising your spirit, going above the labels, and the condition of the labels, because really it is just conditioned.